Welcome to the Small Group Leaders video training series for 2024.
In this session of our Small Group Leaders training, I would like to speak to you about raising interns or second tier leaders, or like in that previous session that we spoke about, the L2, the leader that is just with you as the small group leader, being raised up and trained to become the leader of another small group. But how do you identify those people? So just some practical things that you need to consider is, number one, we are in the business of disciple making. Okay, so that's what Jesus told us to do, to make the people my disciples, teaching them. So there's that element of making disciples and teaching them to do all the things that God has commanded us. And it's the same way in small group leaders training. So you need to be, as the small group leader, helping somebody to just do what you do. So you don't need to be, experienced, seasoned for 40 years in ministry before you can help somebody just to take a next step. And that's all that you do as a small group leader. You help somebody to take the next step to do what needs to be done. But when it comes to disciple making, remember, God says that He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There's always a generational thing with God. And when I think about disciple making, there's a heart that you need to transfer to somebody. You need to transfer the heart of what we are doing to somebody so that they can transfer that heart again to the next generation, whatever that next generation is. So in harsh terms, you can say you're not truly a disciple of Christ. Again, that is a harsh one, and it's a jump, I know, but just for the argument's sake, a true disciple is somebody that has raised the disciple, because then you have become fruitful in the way that you transfer what needs to be transferred into somebody. Because if you only transfer into somebody and they stay by themselves, in a certain way you've failed. You need to transfer something that needs to be transferred again. That's why Paul writes here in 2 Timothy 2 verse 2, he says, "And the things that you have heard from me among many witnesses, commit these to faithful men who will be able to teach others also." Okay, so it's something heard from Paul that Timothy has, that Paul says, actually going four ways. Paul said to Timothy, and he says to Timothy, listen, you need to teach this to faithful men that can teach others also. So that's how we see leadership in any sphere of what we do. You need to replicate yourself. And that's the first thing that you need to do, is you need to ask yourself, do I want more of this person in my small group? Do I want 4 Danels or 4 Devals in the small group? If the answer to that is yes, then you can start to say, okay, great, because this is something that I want to replicate. So the second thing that I just want to touch on is you need to identify faithfulness over giftedness. Because you will have many gifted people knowing a lot of things and knowing a lot of things about the Bible and being great teachers, in that, but they might not be faithful. So rather look at faithful people that come regularly, that's not as gifted necessarily as the one that is, off and on, but faithfulness trumps giftedness hands down every day of the week. So have those people that come regularly, that helps you, that you can raise up. And then when new people come to your small group, a good thing that you need to learn to do is to ask God, but who is this God? What is this person carrying that you have sent into our small group? Because that is unfiltered. Then you get something that God says to you about somebody, because when you start to get to know that person, then some of the things that you see in the natural or maybe even in the spiritual or something will guide your, the way that you look, the lens at how you look at this person. So firstly, hear from God and say, God, what is this person? And from there, you can actively disciple that person into what God told you that they must be. So you want to have people that you can trust. You want to replicate something. And to remember, when you are a small group leader, you are somebody that facilitates just encounters with the Lord, facilitates discussion around the word, facilitates interpersonal relationships, And that's what you look for. You look for people that can do that, that can allow people to come into the space and share. And when you have those people, train them up, take them with you. And then our discipleship journey is not like, hey, I see you, you're great, you go and do this. No, we don't do it like that. We do it like Jesus did it. So firstly, you see who the person is. Then you say, okay, look at me. Right? Paul says it again, follow me as I follow Christ. So look at me, at how I'm doing this. And then when you've looked at me doing this, now I'm going to go with you and you are going to do while I'm watching. And then when that person does, then you give them feedback. Afterwards you say, listen, that was amazing. How you handled that situation was great. Maybe you can not do that, and give them active feedback on how they did when they led the small group, and don't butter them up, tell them the truth. Balanced if you can. Give them great feedback and give them the not so great feedback so that they feel loved and protected and safe. And then when you've done that a couple of times, then you can say to the person, listen, now you are ready. You can go and lead a small group by yourself with other people. And that's how I want us to look at just interns in our small groups or, second tier leaders, people that fit the L2 mold. And you need, as the small group leader, you need to invest in those people. You need to actively speak to them and help them to go to the place of becoming a leader as you are one.